Welcome back. I'm glad you're here today. Today we're going to talk about that we really don't reincarnate. And I want to discuss the idea of reincarnation because as an avatar of our soul, we really don't have reincarnation. So there's an idea from the East that has come over into the West, but it's been interpreted a number of ways. So I want to interpret it for you again so that you will understand that when you were created from your soul as an avatar, that's the term I've been using throughout these lecture series, you were created unique in all of existence. You were given specific programming built into your DNA and into your etherical blueprint, which is housed at a higher level. And you were given specific instructions and guidance and sort of a little bit of a predestiny, only that there were certain markers along your path in your life of things you would experience for soul growth. But you still have the free will to interpret those blending points, a blending point between destiny and fate, the blending points that were sort of designed and arranged for you. And when you pass over from this life, you do not reincarnate. So I want to make this clear. You do not reincarnate. You are becoming an eternal being. When you were created, just like me, we were created to grow, and we were created to experience certain revelations and understandings about life and creation. And we are to continue to grow with this point of reference that we have started here. We move forward and continue to grow and expand and become multidimensional beings. Now remember the idea from talking about what is the soul in earlier videos. If we thought of the soul as sort of a capsule or a large circle capsule, a Merkaba perhaps, but whatever, this soul is connected to the great I am. But this soul creates within it little avatars that are fragments of light that are expressed in matter. They are part of the soul consciousness that comes into or is birthed into the worlds of matter, and they are there to experience matter and all the different lessons and excitement and adventure and things that are being offered in the universes of matter. These avatars continue on as long as they are working in harmony with their programming, with the initial guidelines they were set out to follow. So I'm trying to get you to understand that many times I run across people, especially in the New Age, that are talking about, well, these past lives are causing what's happening to me now. I have this illness because of a past life. I have this bad situation because of a past life. And I want to tell you that that's not accurate. These other lifetimes, they are continuous lifetimes that are current. They aren't past. They are in a timeline, like I mentioned one lifetime I had aboard a Sirian ship because my original soul complex is from Sirius. And I talked about a large battle that took place in the heavens and how many of the people that are here on earth were part of the losing group and were demoted 2 levels down from the heavenly realms or the higher realms. They were demoted down to this realm. So a lot of the people that are here and beings, let's just say beings because it expands beyond earth. It was also in Mars, and Mars blew itself up. And some of those, mentalities are also here. So we have to understand that in our reference, when we talk about it, it may be something in the past, but for our soul, those lifetimes, those avatars are continuing. and they're still growing and they're still achieving things. Not every avatar does that. There are some avatars whose destructive power pretty much, they create an entropy within themselves, where because of their willingly isolating themselves from their source of life, which is their I am, their soul. If you isolate yourself from the source of life, you begin to have entropy. And there are definitely avatars that do not survive after a certain time period because of the drag, the negative drag that's on them. But for a majority of us, we continue on and we continue to grow. So now that I want to also say, does anything that's going on with all of the other avatars in our soul affect us? Yes, it can, but it's only as a frequency, not as something that is covering you or overshadowing you, or some cause and effect that you're dragging a long time with you. Like, oh, I've had all these things way back 200 years ago and I'm dragging that along on a line, on a timeline. No. Everything inside your soul is around you, all these avatars, but they're on different frequencies. They live different lifetimes with different understandings, with different frequencies, on different paths. And yes, you can interact with them, and I have. And you can pick up influences, most definitely, from them. So there is an interrelationship with all of the lives going on with your soul. But I'm just trying to clarify, don't get caught in the trap of that you personally are reincarnating on a long timeline, because this is just not the case. I can also tell you that really what we're trying to do here is become multidimensional beings. And not every avatar that's created by our soul becomes a multidimensional being. Many of the avatars stay attached to their physical bodies. And one example of this is an Egyptian life that I will talk about that my soul had. And when that Egyptian life expired, and they went through an elaborate burial ceremony, as some of you may know, and they take all the organs out of the body, and they dry the body up, and they mummify the body, and they do, all along the way of this process, they're doing magical talismans and magical spells. The Egyptians were high people into magic. And when they opened the mouth ceremony, because when they put the mummy in their resting place and in their sarcophagus and their in wherever the tomb or place they were buried, they also slaughtered a lot of animals and left these dying animals around, because they somehow had this idea that this dead, dried up, no organs, no brain, no nothing mummy was going to get up and eat these dead animals. It needed food. So they left it food and water and things like this, because they had a very primitive, well, remember the 7 levels that I've talked about earlier. They had sort of a tribal mass mentality of understanding what spirituality was. And they tried to reinterpret it through many of their generations from ancient teachings, and it got kind of really weirded out. So what I want to explain about this Egyptian lifetime was the Egyptians believed that the spirit was divided into several levels or several aspects. Mostly we know about 3, the Ba, Ka, and Ankh. Well, one of those pieces is a spirit that roams after death, that roams into the dark realms of dark regions and has to battle all these demons, and then winds up at the end where its heart is measured. But another aspect is encapsulated with talismans and magical spells to stay with the body. And that's the spirit personality that is supposed to be getting up in this mummified body and eating all the food that's been left there. So the story goes, I'm telling this idea because I had an inner experience where I was requested to go and retrieve one of these avatars whose personality, pretty much most of its spiritual essence, had been encapsulated in its tomb and was trapped there. And I learned a great deal by going and experiencing this, that there are a lot of Egyptians trapped in Egypt in tombs. And so I went and freed this particular avatar, which was in part of my soul, so a part of me. I went and freed this avatar. There was a little scarab and a box and some spells that I worked with to unleash and release those spells, so that that personality, which had been trapped there, could be released and have an opportunity to reintegrate itself and either move forward or go into some more peaceful state of existence, because it was restless and trapped. So I wanted to say also that becoming a multidimensional being, which is what most of our discussions on this channel and library are geared towards, is helping you realize you are a multidimensional being. When you become a multidimensional being, even just beginning to, where you're starting to work with your soul and you're starting to be visited by other beings, most of them are part of your soul complex. When you have a certain level of awareness and abilities, you will be sent on missions or sent on projects or asked to work in other realms. So you are now beginning to develop multiple lives at the same time. You have your earth life that you do here every day, but then you also have other missions or other things that you are involved in when you let go of this body, either through sleep, and a lot of times it is through sleep when you separate from this body in a bilocation and you enter into another body or enter into another realm, because there's a long period there. But if you meditate, you could have shorter periods of being in these other realms if you took an afternoon nap. I've had situations where I've been pulled out and still sort of sitting in my body or standing somewhere in my body, but these are like temporary in and outs, and in your meditations they could be for 10 or 15 minutes in and out. But when you're working on a longer situation, it's best if you're sleeping for a few hours, at least 2 or 3 hours, because now you're bilocating into another situation in another reality, often in another body. Sometimes these other bodies are a more advanced you, a more knowledgeable you. Sometimes they don't even look like me, but they are part of more of my Sirian lineage. So as you move and become more of a multidimensional being, you have other lives that you're living. And in these other lives, you're helping, like I did with this Egyptian life, you're helping your soul do projects that it wants to get done in these various realms. And remember, we talked about it, comparing this idea to a computer game. It's a modern version of it, so I'm trying to use modern terminology. So if your soul has the whole levels within it, and the game is being played on multiple levels with multiple avatars, but the soul encapsulates all of it. And so the soul knows where to move these avatars on different realms to do specific things. And that's something that I've been experiencing now for a while. And I will talk more about those experiences so that you can become familiar with what it's like to be multidimensional. And you can also start to understand that your path is a direct path, and that you're not carrying any karma or burdens from the past. So I'd like you to just contemplate that idea and allow yourself to let that go, and start focusing most of your ideas and thoughts on the fact that you are multidimensional, that you can live in more than one reality, that you can have more than one job description. You can be many things right here and now. Amazing things are possible. And so that is the lesson for today. And in the future videos, I will be doing some describing more of my personal experiences. I did earlier some childhood ones. I have a large encyclopedia of experiences. I'm trying to pick out several ones at a time. So I will be doing some videos on some more personal experiences. I will be doing videos on my extraterrestrial encounters as well. So please be sure and subscribe and click the bell so that you'll be notified when new videos are coming. And thank you so much for watching.